Hey everybody, Alex Miller at Capnion here. In a second, I'm going to give you guys another example application of Ghost PII. It's in a little bit of a mini series with some other videos I've been posting about the permission suite that Ghost PII uses. Just to recap, what we're talking about here is maybe you wanted to share data with someone and also you didn't. They could do some useful work for you if they had that data, but then also, there's some risk attached to them having that data. And this very often occurs when some kind of institutional administrative boundaries are involved. And we don't really have to be just people either. You need to put some data on a server that it's not supposed to be on because of some kind of compliance rules. You want to share it with another company, and you have different kinds of issues of sharing with that company. There's all different kinds of reasons that there's risk every time data crosses a boundary, and we're all about, well, you can still do what you want, and you can mitigate that risk with encrypted data in use. You're going to give them encrypted data, and the Ghost PII API is going to allow them to do certain computations and see the answers in plain text that you chose and that you set in the permission system that they were allowed to do. And they're not going to be allowed to do other things. And this week and next week, I'm going to go into some specific corners of all the different ways Ghost PI will let me do this and why they're important. So, this broader class of what are now being called privacy enhancing technologies, and this includes things like synthetic data as well, emerging secure enclave technologies, etc., there's very often some level of performance hit that you take in exchange for getting the extra privacy. And it's some pretty sophisticated stuff, and there's a lot of detail to go into everything that's in Ghost PI. But suffice it to say that it's a composite system that employs a number of different techniques in a synergistic way to make sure data is protected all the way through the pipeline, and then also that we can get you some of these relatively unique magic tricks that we provide, like the answer key. This particular notebook is about setting permissions so that maybe one person you work with, the very highest level of security and privacy that Ghost PII can provide is too much, in the sense that you don't think it's going to be necessary given who that actor is and the sort of implicit threat model you ascribe to sharing data with them. And also, you'd just like them to be able to get you whatever you're asking them for really, really fast. Once again, we're all about letting you use standard Python tools in a way you're familiar with and making our part fit in seamlessly. Ghost PII is this module and it talks to this key hosting service. Important for this example is this token represents identity of that key hosting service, and we're going to have two different players here with different levels of permission. And the point is that the first user is allowed to do these statistic computations on an encrypted data set that we're uploading here in a fast track way that's a little bit less private. So we are assuming we have some relationship with this person of, we're kind of worried maybe people are just kind of doing a little bit of a peek, and not that they're going to do some sophisticated reverse engineering of our data. Now below, we're going to switch to a different worker with a different type of permission. This is someone we are worried about acting in an explicitly malicious way, and their permissions are set up so that they have to do absolutely all the security layers to make sure that even if they really were some sort of cryptography national security research lab, they would have a really hard time or hopefully fail outright in reverse engineering the data. And you can see that this faster lane is quite a bit faster. You can see that this person is kind of going through some extra hoops uh, in that there's some extra time essentially handling this extra layer of security that's going to make it even more difficult for them to conceivably rip Ghost PII apart and take out data in the middle of computations and look at it. And this is a good segue to recapping an important point. This encrypted data in use idea is not a kind of magic trick like we do the decryption somewhere very safe, and that's when we do the computation and get the answer, and then try to protect it really well on its way back to you. It's actually some very complicated mathematics. We're working directly with that encrypted data, and it's all pretty complicated and technical, but the idea is you can do this arcane computation and at the end get the right answer even though you never really had the data in plain text. And the story is making sure that all the intermittent materials, when you're not decrypting but you have this encrypted data that still has information in it, making sure that all that intermittent material, even if a sophisticated actor were to essentially rip off the hood of the car and, like, while the engine's running, get into it and start taking things out and examining them, if they were able to do this, that it wouldn't work. They wouldn't find anything meaningful that could get the data owner in trouble. And then the permissions functionality we're talking about here is there's actually a lot of different powerful tricks in use in Ghost PII, and we'll even let you fine-tune which ones you need and which you don't. The point of Ghost PII is that you have some risk you need to manage and you have some things you need to get done, and we want to give you all the power that we can to turn that into a have your cake and eat it too situation by, once again, you get that answer in the end, you've protected the data in the middle, and you even have very fine control about how you're protecting that data for that given specific end user.